Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Intern-al Affairs. Today, I have my friend Theo on as a guest. He's also another intern at JCK, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
So I'm a senior at Foxland High School, and probably pretty similar to Riley. Like, JCK came to my school a couple years ago, and I really wanted to help them in any way I could. And I've never done anything like this, like podcast or anything, so I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm hyped. This is fun. So I've been chatting with Theo a little bit, and he has a lot of experience with art, as I understand. And he kind of wanted to talk about his experience with art and how that's helped him with his mental health and kind of also music as well, because those two kind of go hand in hand. So kind of the first thing I want to know is what kind of like art do you make? What kind of stuff do you do?
So, my biggest thing, I guess, is drawing. Like, I've been drawing since I was really as long as I can remember, probably since I was 5 years old. And, like, I was making little cartoon strips, little comic books. But more lately, past couple years, I've gotten really into, like, animation, using, like, iPads and stuff.
So do you have, like, a certain software that you do for it?
I usually use Procreate.
Oh, nice.
Which is, like, it's pretty cheap. And it's really, like, it's very powerful, I think.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, like, animation takes, I could say this about any art form, but it takes so much effort and so much time.
Yeah, there's a lot of planning, too.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta kind of figure out everything you want to do. Wait, do you want to move up a little bit?
Yeah.
Lean again. Yeah, good.
But I think, like, maybe more than any other art form, when you can see a final product that, like, really moves and comes to life, like, that's really cool.
That is fire. Wow. So, that's sick. Didn't know you did all that. Is there, like, a specific kind of, like, inspiration you had, like, to do with animation? Like, how did you get into that? Because I feel like that's kind of a hard thing to kind of just pick up.
I grew up watching a ton of animated shows, like, like Adventure Time, regular show?
Yeah, oh, Adventure Time is great.
And I don't know if there was a specific moment. I gotta keep thinking about that.
That's okay.
There was one day, I remember I saw some fact on, like, Instagram or something, and it said, like, I don't know their names, but the guy who made regular show and Adventure Time, they were, like, roommates in college.
Really?
So I was like, damn, if I could do that, I don't know, that could be really cool.
So it's kind of like seeing, like, just starting from wherever. You don't have to, like, be in, like, a certain space to do it, and you could just kind of do it as, like, an outlet, and then it becomes something bigger than you. I think it's cool. Well, so, like, I don't know, I have really that much experience with this, but kind of, like, when did you first kind of starting to get into art? Like, was it when you were a kid? And, like, how did, like, the people around you support you or, like, react to that when that happened?
I think everybody was really into it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, like, I feel like there might be some sort of societal, like, expectations for us dudes to not be as into art or something.
Yeah, and you play sports, too, so it's kind of, like, there's not usually that much, like, overlap between the two. That makes sense? I don't know.
I feel like, especially in elementary school, like, everybody in my class, boys and girls, would just be like, yo, that's cool, like, you can draw.
Yeah.
And maybe people never even stopped doing that, but, like, when I got to middle school, I just got this kind of idea that, like, I don't know, I didn't want that to be, like, my identity.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, looking back on it is so stupid, you know?
Yeah. And it's, like, those things where you're kind of, like, thinking about what other people are thinking about it. It's kind of, like, I did it a lot, where I'll be doing something and I'll kind of, like, this whole thing is, like, very hard because it's something that is, like, meant for other people to look at, which is, like, also a lot with art, too. And I kind of get, like, embarrassed about what other people are going to think without actually knowing what other people are going to think. Like, no one's told me that they think it's weird. No one's told me that they think it's, like, there's something wrong with it. But you kind of, like, put those expectations on other people. And I feel like that prevents kind of doing things that you love.
Yeah. That stuff can totally just build up in your mind. Like,
yeah.
It can start from some tiny thing that you're a little bit insecure about. And then it'll build up to you being, like, super nervous or uncomfortable in a situation like this. I definitely feel that a lot. And that can hold me back a lot from, like, doing the things that really make me happy, like art.
Yeah. Wait, so more about that. Like, do you find yourself, like, picking up art, picking up your iPad to do whatever when you're upset or when you're, like, having a bad day? Or is there, like, a different relationship between art when you're doing well and when you're having, like, struggling with your mental health?
I think that it can definitely be, like, probably one of the best, I don't know what the word is, like, you know, we do the breakout groups and coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing for me, like, if I'm really feeling down or feeling sad or, you know, anything like that, just going and just drawing, just doodling in my notebook or something. Like, a couple minutes in, I'll be completely, just my mindset will be completely changed. But I haven't been doing that. Like, I don't do that nearly enough. I think a big part of that is just, like, I hate to be the dude who blames the phone, you know?
Yeah.
Sound like a boomer or something, but...
No, it's so hard. Like, it's so hard not to do it. And I feel like people, like, our age know that it's bad, and, like, they know, like, they're like, I don't want to be on my phone, but it's like, how do I even talk to people? Like,
exactly.
If it's not through that, like, how do we even figure out?
And it's just so easy, like, you pick up your phone and, like, 5 seconds later, you're seeing some crazy video, you know?
Yeah.
Something really, like, interesting or just something that can take all your attention. And, like, creating something on your own, like drawing, it just, like, I think it takes a lot more effort to just, like, get into that state, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Then once you're in it, you know, you can flow and do it really easily and, like, have a lot more fun with it. I think it's a lot more, like, fulfilling.
Yeah.
But I feel like, kind of separate topic, but that sort of makes me feel a little bit, like, worried for the much younger generation who's growing up, like, instead of, like, being creative and playing with, like, toys and stuff, and, like, which sort of allows them to create their own, like, stories and stuff.
Yeah.
They're just watching videos.
Yeah, like, I've noticed that a lot, especially, like, babysitting. See a bunch of kids, and, like, all they want to do is, like, watch videos, and I'm like, can we, like, build Legos? Like, please, you have a Lego set over there. But, yeah, I think that's definitely something to worry about. But I think also with, like, technology, there's so many more opportunities to be creative on there. Whereas, like, someone might not have, like, all the ways to paint or do it. But, like, if you have an iPad, you could do literally, like, recreate any type of art form. Although it's not the same. Like, it doesn't feel the same. It's not, like, physical. I think that's also really cool. And I would have, like, loved to have that as a kid. Like, just drawing, like, making whatever. I think that would have been super special. I think another thing with art that I've kind of struggled with is, like, I like doing art. I like making stuff. But I think I always go to do it or go to draw something, go to paint something. And as a means of, like, calming me down. And then I think so much about, like, how it looks. And I think it's, like, not good enough. I think a lot of people are kind of pushed away from art because of that thought. But how do you like, have that when you make art? And also, like, how do you overcome that if you do?
I mean, I definitely have that. I think that's just, like, part of being a human, especially, like, any artist. I think literally every artist since the dawn of time has, like, hated on their own work. It's just, like, super natural, I guess. And I don't know. I wish I had some perfect, like, solution for that. I think it's just, like, I don't know, keep going, and then also understanding that there's no such thing as, like, bad art.
Yeah.
Anything that you make. Like, I saw some guy said once that, like, any art, anything that's been created by a person is, like, the coolest thing ever automatically, just because it came from this super...
No, let's say it.
It came from this animal that, like, miraculously is capable of forming super complex thoughts and, like, creating something on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
No other animal can do that, like...
And then other people can look at it and be like, oh, that makes me feel something.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's gonna probably feel something different from looking at it. Like...
Yeah. That's a really great point, actually. I really like that.
Thanks.
It is crazy. When you think about things like that, it just makes things so much more fun. Like,
Yeah.
we're like, this is a microphone. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane.
It started with fire. Like, now we're here.
Exactly. Like, you'll look at some field or valley, and it's like, how did we make, like, Wi-Fi out of this?
No, like, I still don't get it. I think also, like, the thing with, like, art, it's like you create it for yourself. I think that's, like, the most important thing. That's where the greatest art comes from. But then also anything that you make, it can make other people feel something, whether it's what you were feeling in the moment or whether it's, like, or something completely different, like something totally on the opposite spectrum of what you even thought it could come out of it. And I think that's something that's been happening since the beginning of time. Like, we've been drawing little cave drawings with, like, whatever. I just think that's so special, and that's something that art holds. That's what music holds, and also, like, just talking about music and art together makes a lot of sense. Do you have any?
Definitely.
Yeah. And when you like, do you like put on specific music when you paint or when you animate or?
I mean, I do have a specific playlist that's like, it started out as just being like more of a sad times playlist, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just more like lower tempo songs, stuff that's like, I don't know, I can work with and it won't be really distracting or anything. But it's gotten to be much more of just like an art playlist by now. So,
What kind of artists are on it? What kind of songs?
I mean, since it started off like just sad, it was like all of Blonde by Frank Ocean, a lot of like the more sad Radiohead songs, a lot of Jeff Buckley, and good amount of like Kid Cudi too. Let's see, I don't know. There are a lot of artists that I usually listen to for like working out, stuff like Deftones or Smashing Pumpkins, but like even those guys, like there are a couple of songs that are definitely not like sad, but I just like drawing to them. So it's definitely morphed from like a sad playlist to an art playlist, which like now I don't have really a sad playlist.
Yeah.
But that's whatever.
Well, do you also kind of more on that? Do you think that the art that you make because of like correlates a lot to like the emotions of the songs you're listening to? Like, do you create more like sad art? Like, do you think it like shows up in the colors or anything? And like, if I were to like look at something like that you made, do you think I'd be able to like understand where that was coming from?
I mean, that's a really good question. Like, I think it would be difficult to. I don't know if somebody could really look at some piece and choose like what songs I was listening to.
Oh yeah,
but definitely, I don't know. Like, I think it would be more noticeable like in the very early stages of creating a piece, because like once I get more into it, I already have mapped out like what it's gonna look like in my mind, and it definitely is not gonna end up exactly what I thought it would be. But the songs that I was listening to, like while I was really coming up with the idea of the piece and like choosing what materials and colors to work into it, I think you probably could.
Yeah.
At least see like.
Wait, so what is like the whole process? Just because I'm curious. Like.
Well, just creating
of like
art.
Let's say like animation of like, because I don't know how to do that.
I mean.
Does it start with like an idea? Where do you like? Does it just start with like one thought and then kind of build up?
Yeah, usually it's just like. I don't know. I don't really know where I get most of my inspiration from. The cool thing about animation is like, you know, you don't have to focus on just one frame. It can be a whole thing moving.
Yeah.
And like something I really like creating is like little scenes from nature, like, I don't know, bird on a tree or something. But the actual process of animation, like, you know, you have to draw every single frame, which it's like 24 a second or 12 a second. But no matter what, like, if it's more than a couple seconds, it's going to be hundreds of drawings.
Yeah.
And also, like, background and colors and stuff. I don't know. Here, I'll think a little bit longer. Work out, like, the whole process for you.
Yeah. I mean, do you think there's something, like, there's something about, like, the repetition of, like, kind of, like, if you looked at one frame and then you looked at a couple frames later, if someone who wasn't working on it the whole time, like, you couldn't really tell the difference, but, like, you as the artist can see that there's, like, a clear and obvious change between every single frame. Do you think there's something like special about that in the process that like just really like grounds you, makes you like think about it more?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, you know, for every art form, the piece and the artist have a very like close relationship, you know, and it'll be something very personal to them, and they'll remember like every part of the process. But especially for animation, like if I'm drawing some bird in like 500 different positions, I'm just gonna have like this personal connection to this little imaginary bird, you know?
Yeah.
And anybody else could see it and like, you know, it's cool, or maybe they don't like it or something. But to me, even if like I'm not super proud of it, this is something that I've spent so much time with. And like sometimes painstakingly gone back and edited it for hours and stuff. I don't know.
No, that makes sense. And it's like your baby.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. I mean, so my problem with art is like I can't like get past like I don't know, like I don't like how this looks. Like it's because art is a skill. Like a lot of it is learning like certain ways to replicate what you see and replicate what you're feeling and put it onto paper. And I just have never spent enough time to like get good at that. But I think recently finding like a medium that works for me is like photography. And that's like why I have this camera right now. And that's why I'm like, probably why I'm into podcasting at all. Cause I'm like comfortable enough with like the filming and I'm comfortable enough with like editing. But I've recently got into like concert photography. And that's like obviously a huge overlap between like music and art. But
that's really cool.
Yeah. And I think like photography for me, it seems so much more like of a skill that I could just quickly develop. And like I'm very instant gratification. Like I don't like if I like really could push myself, I would try and like become good at like painting a certain thing and I would develop the skills to do that. But I think photography, it's you could still get a good picture like without knowing your way around the camera completely. But I think I've like over the past couple months I've been taking a lot of pictures of my friends who intern at Stockroom Records. And like that's been a really cool process for me. And then I feel like that kind of I can like it's so cool that you could look at like a short thing of something and we could both look at it. We could both take our take on it in art. Like I could take a picture, edit it however I want, and then you could go and that could inspire you to make like a whole animation about it. I just think that's really cool, and it's like two totally different beasts of their own. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. That is super cool. Like, I think some of the best things that can come from art, and especially out of like high school art, is just when the different mediums and different people collaborate.
Yeah.
From like super different things. Like, I mean, there was one animation I made where like I got some people who kind of knew how to play music at my school, and like we got a little bit, and it like comes together, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like that's what real world art should always be. Like a lot of people bring stuff from them.
Yeah.
From their own experiences and stuff. And that's why, like, you look at a movie and there's, like, 500 people in the credits.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. It really was not. You cannot credit this to one person.
I'm always amazed by that. And I think, like, just movies and, like, shows and everything in general, like, I'm just, like, wow. Like, you all just did something and it created this whole thing that makes it look like it just was real life. Yeah. If that makes sense. But I think also what you're saying about the collaborative aspect of art, having like multiple people with different skills, different like interests, passions come together and like create something that they all like, I think is so cool. And that's what I love about art. That's what I love about music. And I think like were you like especially close with the people that you did that piece of animation with the music before you did it?
I mean, honestly, not really. Like, some more of my friends now are more like musicians.
Yeah. And did that kind of like bring you into that and like becoming closer with them, like creating something together?
Yeah, I think you can say that.
I just like, yeah, because I think that's so special. That's something like really unique. Because what I always think about with music is when you sent me your playlist, so he sent me his playlist before, so I could get a kind of idea of what kind of music he's into, to kind of ask some questions and whatever. But I was looking at it and immediately I was like, oh, okay, like we're going to be able to talk about stuff just because I have a bunch of liked songs. Like we have a lot of music overlap. I think that's such a special thing because I'm like, oh, he understands like this specific thing. Or maybe he doesn't have the same take as me, but I'm like so excited to have these discussions about like our different interpretations of like these artists because I think that's just so special.
Yeah, I think like even though I don't play any music and I really do need to learn an instrument, like I was just seeing some people playing guitar and I was just like, damn, it looks so fun and cool. Yeah. But
they're annoyingly good.
Yeah, it was just so effortless, you know?
Yeah, no, they're crazy.
But I think like the way that music just like connects people, that's like my favorite thing in the world, honestly. And the way that like, you know, we met like I don't know a couple weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
But the fact that like so many people who are totally strangers to me, they share all this music with me. Like I don't know, I'm really into Frank Ocean and like Radiohead. Yeah. You know, there's millions of people who share that type of thing. And it's like we have this shared experience, and we're kind of similar in that way. I feel like, even though we never met or anything.
It's like instant, like, okay, you are on a certain level of like understanding with me. Like we could talk about that. It's like instantly brings you from like small talk and just like normal conversation to like a different kind of deeper discussion, which I think is so important, especially when meeting new people.
And also just like for strengthening like existing relationships. Like I feel very lucky because me and my family have a very like, I don't know, we really connect through music a lot. And, like, there are a lot of artists, like, have you ever heard of Ben Howard?
I don't know. Maybe?
I'm always surprised that, because, like, I don't think I've ever met someone who has heard of him. I think he's really big in England or something. But he's just, like, a folk kind of rock singer and stuff. And ever since I was, like, I don't know, probably 6 years old, my mom has been playing his music, like, when she was sewing, just all throughout my childhood and stuff. So this music is just, like, so deeply ingrained in my head and stuff.
Yeah.
And all my my brother and sister, they also, like, just grew up listening to that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was, like, kind of just in the background of our childhood, you know? And
yeah.
There's a lot more stuff, like the Beatles a lot, too. And just, like, I can just play a song with my family in the car, and all of them will instantly, like, not just like the song, but have so many memories associated with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, for example, that guy, Ben Howard, I'll, like, recommend him to someone, and I'll be, like, offended when they're like, no, I don't really like this. Then I just gotta remind myself, like, nah, they just, like, it's not their fault.
Yeah, they just
like,
don't have the weight attached to it that I do.
Yeah.
Like, that is, I love recommending people music. I love being recommended music. Like, because if someone recommends me something, and they, like, are really, hold on, let me start over. The best way that I find new music is when somebody is, like, super excited about a song. They're like, this is my favorite song. It could be a totally different genre I've never heard before. It could be something crazy, and if they are like, I want to show this to you, and they play it for me, like, I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
Like, I really can't help it, because I'm just like, wow, you're passionate about this. Like, I'm gonna try and listen to it from your perspective. I'm gonna try and, like, hear it the way that you do, because I just think, like, if, like, it can move you that much, like, the fact that it's moving you is gonna, like, have an impact on me. And that's just so special.
That's another thing, like, I wouldn't say, like, I'm a big part of this, like, community or anything, but I've seen a lot on Instagram and, like, YouTube, just the community of, like rating music and comparing music in a very, like, I don't know, like, numerical way. Maybe that's not the best way to put it, but like, people will say, like, you know, this album's an 8.5 or something. And it's, like, I think that's cool. I think anything that encourages us to discuss music and stuff and allow that to connect us is good. But I think they're also just kind of missing the point. Like, this song is going to be a different, you know, like, number rating to everybody.
Yeah.
And if some song means a lot to some person, I'm not going to be like, you know, it's okay, it's just a 5. Because, like, to them, if they've been hearing it their whole life, that's what makes it good to them.
Like, it's a 10 because it's, like, that's everything.
Yeah.
Like, that song is, like, all these different times I spent, like, listening to it with these specific people. And, like, you wouldn't get that.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I think the thing you said about with strengthening, like, existing relationships, my mom, like, was not very into music as, like, she's not as into it as I am, basically, but she has, like, reasons for it. Like, she grew up with 2 brothers, and her room was in between theirs, and they would both be playing speakers with different, like, Led Zeppelin songs blasting, and it would, like drive her crazy, basically. And so she doesn't like loud music. She does like certain types of music, which totally, like, it makes sense. Like, if you're growing up with that, like, 2 different conflicting songs. But, like, when I was younger, she would always just kind of let me play whatever I wanted in the car, which I was very grateful for. But I hadn't really developed a music taste. But then I kind of met some of my good friends now who are over in the next room, who play, like, 70s rock, classic rock, some of, like, the greatest songs, in my opinion. They play it well. And I just like listening to them do that stuff and have such a passion for it, be so, like, in tune with it. Because, like, watching people really talented at music play their instrument and, like, just connect, seeing that is something that, like, actually my brain can't comprehend. And I think about it a lot. It's so insane to me how amazing that people can just make things sound by just, like,
I know.
Like, coordinating their movements. But I think after they, like, kind of got me back into, like, the oldies, the classics and whatnot, it like, strengthened my relationship with my mom, because I got to be like, oh, Mom, like, I actually really like this song. Like, we sat down and we made a whole playlist for the car. So now we listen to music that we both like, because now we have, like, all that big overlap. And, like, it's, like, fun, like, building relationships with other people based on music has helped me with, like, my relationships with my mom, because we now share more in common in that way, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, like, yeah, I totally agree that, like, I just can't really understand the way that people are just so good at just operating this instrument. I don't know. It's something that really I can get kind of jealous of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
But I know it's just like I just need to pick up a guitar or something. And just put the work in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly feel like that's something that just like you only get one life and stuff. I feel like that's kind of a necessary thing. Like I just need to learn one instrument in my life.
Me picking up my ukulele once every 5 months and playing Riptide. I'm like, yeah, that works. I'll do it. Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. I'm so jealous of anyone who could just pick it up and do it. Because then especially young people too. I'm like, ugh, how do you know that?
Yeah, I know.
How do you know how to do that? But
yeah, it can be annoying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess people say that to me about drawing and stuff. I just got to. I need to branch out, I guess. But
yeah. Do you share your art with other people? When you kind of do that, do people tell you the impact it has on them, or do they tell you different interpretations of it that kind of differ from what you thought would happen?
I mean, for a long time, I kind of was not very interested in sharing art. I just kind of thought, this is just for me, and it makes me really happy, so that's all that really matters,
Yeah.
But kind of more recently, really this year, partially just because we've had a lot of school art shows and stuff, and having different people really tell me a lot that they can relate to the ideas that are in my art, and hearing that it actually means something to them. That's just the best thing you could possibly hear as an artist. Even if a lot of the time the sort of meaning that I had in my mind, sometimes that gets kind of lost and people will draw some completely different idea from it. And at first I'm like, well, I don't know, but there's you obviously can't say no, that's wrong.
Yeah,
it's just
just different.
Yeah, and that's honestly even better.
Yeah, it must be such a cool experience. Kind of be oh, you got that from that. Didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've kind of had that with photography in a different way, where my friends were playing with this man named Apollo, and he's an older guy. He plays the guitar. He has this really sick guitar that he painted himself, and it was his first time, or the first time I was there taking pictures while he was playing with them. And I made sure to get a bunch of him too, because I was like, oh, this is cool, he'll like these. And then I sent them to him, and he sent me this really nice note after, being thank you, it's been a long time since I've seen myself in pictures like these. And I it made me so warm inside, because I'm oh, this guy probably I didn't even realize that he probably hasn't seen himself in these cool different lighting, color pictures that I took the kind of time to edit. And I don't know, it just made me happy that it had an impact on someone, and it made them kind of smile, made them happy. I think that's kind of the whole point, really. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's really an act of service. I feel all art kind of can be that in that way, but that is specifically a very personal way, and it's kind of for that one person. That's really great.
I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just oh, this is cool. He's got his whole getup. He's here. He's gonna get in on this too. But yeah, it's just it's unintentional. I think a lot of times with art, the connection that you can build with people. I think that's necessary, because if they're the people that do what's the word? Kind of art that's meant to rouse a crowd, which I guess all art is kind of meant to rouse people and get them talking and whatnot. But the ones that are specifically trying to get a negative reaction out of people,
yeah.
I'm yeah, that's I get what you're saying. Usually it's some type of statement, but I don't know. It's just something about the unintentional, oh, this sparked this conversation and you really had no idea. I think that's a little bit more special sometimes than trying to funnel a specific view from people.
You mean shock factor type stuff, political and
yeah. We're back. So I was thinking about this recently, where I was there's something about like music teachers and like art teachers that are so important. And I went to camp and I had this one counselor who like is the only reason why I am doing this right now. Like without him, I would not be doing this, which I love. Like, I love doing this. I love having these conversations. I love watching podcasts. I'm literally wearing podcast merch right now, like my favorite one. But like, he is the reason I have a camera. He's the reason that I have any interest in like video production and photography. And like, I've been meaning to kind of reach out to him recently and be like, dude, thank you. Because like, you've like the things that have been like most fulfilling in my life recently with like photography and this and just everything that I'm doing that's like a hobby and that's enjoyable is like kind of stemming from the fact that you taught me how to use a camera. You made me want to buy one. You made me like feel confident in my ability to like edit things and make them look good. And like that's just so special. And so like I think like showing appreciation for the people that kind of teach us about these things and get us into them and like kind of like build us up on those kind of things we like are so important.
Yeah, 100%. Like both my parents are teachers, and like I have an art teacher who I have like super close relationship with because she was like a teacher at my elementary school too. So I've had her for I think in total like 8 years of my life, which is crazy, and I'm so lucky for that. And like I do always think that it's super important to show appreciation. I think that like as a teacher, it's just part of the job. Like you should know how much of an impact you're having, and I'm sure most of them do, but still it can, it never hurts to just remind them like,
yeah,
you've really changed my life. And teachers do that like, I don't know, I feel like more than they know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of kids would never really say that to the teachers, just like, you really changed the way I looked at things, changed my perspective and stuff.
It's hard too, because it's like, oh, like it's like emotional, because then like a lot of times they don't even know. I feel like they know they have an impact on the people, but they don't really know how much or in what way unless they're like told, or unless they see it in a way. But yeah, I just have like so much appreciation just for those people. I think like also growing up, I had this one music teacher who just loved music and like made us all love music, and like we would literally sit there and like make songs for our concert. Like he would have us come up with the lyrics as classes, and it was just like it was so special to have someone, even though I like thought I was great at singing and was actually awful. He would be like, yeah, you're gonna get a solo and you're gonna be great and you sound awesome. And like it was just so nice to just, and I love music. I love whether or not I'm good or not. I love like singing in my car, like literally like releases all the emotions I'm having, singing to like a good Jeff Buckley ballad.
That's like the best outlet, I feel like, just car singing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so how old were you when you had this teacher? Like,
it was in elementary school, so from like from like when I was 8 to when I was like 10 or something, I think.
So I was kind of talking about this with like John and a teacher from Dobbs Ferry the other day, but like I think especially for kids and like the younger, the more this is the case, like you can really tell when a teacher just like really cares. And like I think like I'm not gonna throw shade at any teacher, of course, but I've definitely had teachers where just like you can tell just by being around them in class that they're like don't really want to be there. And they're like, and I think it's a very honorable job to be a teacher, because like obviously it's not the most lucrative thing, and
especially one for things like art and music. Because people kind of put that down all the time, even though it's obviously so important.
Totally. But like when there is that teacher, which I think it's not like super uncommon, but like we're always lucky to have a teacher that really cares, and you can really tell that they just are in love with art, and like that's all they care about, or music, or I mean English or math or something. Like for me, I cannot physically comprehend somebody being that in love with math or something. Yeah. Just like what?
I respect it. This is what I'm talking about too. Like if you see someone have so much passion for something, like no matter what the subject, and then you have them like kind of talking about it in that way to you, teaching me that way, like I'm gonna at least try to kind of have that much enthusiasm for it. Whether I could like really generate it or not, like it's gonna make me want to try, just to be like, okay, like you clearly love this. I'm not gonna like do you the disservice of not even giving it a chance. But yeah, I like that. I had a crazy physics teacher too, who got me
Science teachers.
into it. Yeah.
I think the best teachers are the ones that just have like so much passion, energy that they can, like, you can see that subject, even just if it's a glimpse, you can see it like from their perspective.
Yeah.
You can see. I don't know if I've had a math teacher show me like how beautiful math can be.
Yeah.
But like definitely that's the case for like English and science and stuff. I don't know. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And it's so important for the kids. I don't know if it's more important now.
Yeah.
With like this current generation or something, but
yeah.
I don't know. Like that's essential to, I guess, society.
Yeah. I think we talked a little bit about this, but also I want to talk more about like when you stopped doing art for a while and like kind of was there a point during that time that you kind of realized like, oh, I actually do need this in my life and I do need to bring it back?
So, all right, I'll pretty much just start from the beginning. Like kindergarten and even before then, I was super into art, just really into drawing. And like I found recently this little folder full of little comic books that I made. And that is
so cute.
Probably like my favorite activity that I've ever done, just going through old stuff just
because I remember. Superhero? Were you into superhero comics or like different types?
I was never really into, I don't think I ever really read a comic book, but I would make my own
You make your own. Okay, so like totally original.
Like Tomato Man and Potato Boy. There's Frogman.
Nice. This is good stuff.
And like it's so fun to go back and read that stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, up like through 5th grade, I was super into that stuff. And then some point, it made, like, I could kind of credit that one art teacher I was talking about, who has had such a big impact on me. Like, I'd heard in elementary school, so 6th grade was my first year, like, not having her. And we had kind of a weird art program in middle school where, like, each quarter was spent with a different art teacher. And I just remember, like, every time I made a piece of art, it was, like, football related.
Yeah.
It was like a papier-mâché football or like a Saquon Barkley drawing or something. And there's nothing wrong with drawing football players and stuff, but like I knew that was not what I'm like really into.
Yeah, it's not what you wanted to make.
But like I think I was trying to project that sort of identity of being like a football player, you know, and like a jock. Because I think especially when we get to middle school, we start to kind of want to
become like one thing.
Yeah, we want to fill in one of those like
boxes.
Different niches in like the, I don't know, high school ecosystem or middle school or whatever. But then, you know, I was making that kind of lame and not putting a whole lot of effort into the art all throughout middle school. And I think quarantine really was when the change came. Because, like, I had so much time on my hands. That also completely flipped my music taste on its head. Like, I expanded so much in that time.
Yeah. I totally, same. Like, it helped me.
And, like, quarantine, obviously, just the whole COVID epidemic or pandemic, whatever, like, obviously did a lot of bad stuff for a lot of people. And people were affected in really awful ways, and so were we probably, like, even if we weren't specifically affected by people around us, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, I think it definitely had an effect on our, I don't know, social skills or something like that.
Yeah, I think totally with the younger people than us too. I've seen that like crazy.
Yeah, definitely. But I do think I pulled a couple positives from there. Like, just sitting down and like I'll just sit on my bed and just draw little characters for hours, and I sort of was able to fall back in love with art, which I'm so grateful for. Like,
that's awesome.
I can't imagine what I would be like if I never sort of found that passion again.
I like have this kind of feeling too that I've been made aware of recently because I've never, like, art hasn't been, like, a super big part of my life. But when I was at camp, I was so into, like, video. That was, like, my thing for, like, a year or two. And with this counselor, because he kind of motivated me to do that, kind of gave me the freedom to, like, do whatever I wanted with it, basically. But I remember I made this video. It was, like, the first, like, big video project I did, and it took me all summer. And it was kind of... it was like celebrating like the 50 years of this one counselor who had been working there for that long. And and she was like an admin, and I loved her, and I made this video for her, and I interviewed a bunch of people, which I guess I kind of like am doing now. But I interviewed a bunch of people, asked them like how they helped her during their like camp experience, whether they're a counselor or camper or like went to camp, and I was so into it, and I just remember like loving creating it and like overlaying it and making it look nice and pretty and like having all these pictures. And I was so young when I did that, and I think back on it now, and like that was such like a rewarding thing for me. And like of course like she loved it, but it really was like I got lost in the process too of just like making something that I found like cool and like meant a lot to me. And like since he like left the camp, and then my camp I couldn't go for a year because of COVID, and I kind of like didn't do any video, didn't do any like thing with my camera, and I kind of stopped because I don't know, he like wasn't, it was a lot of it was like he was helping me like figure out what I wanted to do and like helping me plan things out, and I just wasn't that interested when I came back and he wasn't there anymore. But since I started picking up photography again recently, I like kind of was like, wait, I have a camera. Like, why don't I use that? Like having more free time in senior year, like doing that the past couple months, like has actually like just satisfied a need that I did not know I had anymore.
Yeah.
And I think like that's kind of what you went. It's like kind of getting back into it. You're like, wait, this is like fulfilling parts of me that I didn't know needed to be anymore, or like really I didn't even know I ever was, but now I kind of fully see it. Like this is something that I'm always gonna want to do. I'm always gonna like have time for or make time for. I think that's so like important, I guess. Like bringing that back.
Definitely. I mean, like art was just something that it was just a part of like the way I function, you know, throughout elementary school and stuff. Like I can just, that's an outlet for me with any emotional problems or something.
Mm-hmm.
That could always just keep me, like I know the word you're using is like grounded and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really a good way to explain it. Like it just keeps me together, I guess.
Yeah.
But and during middle school, like I don't know if I can think of a specific time where it was like, yeah, if I had art as sort of an outlet, I would be doing a lot better. But it definitely was just, I don't know, it was like something was definitely missing, you know?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like you don't realize it until it's back in your life, or you don't realize it until you start it up again. Like it's just like, I don't even know. Because it's like, you're not, so being creative is such like a thing that you really do have to make time for. Especially like as high schoolers, like athletes too, like there's not that much time in the day to like do school and do sports and then also have time to like use that as an outlet. But yeah, I've just, it's like been such a fun experience to get back into it, and it's just been so fulfilling. I think that's like the best word I could use for it. Let me turn off. This is really pissing me off. Let's not. Just like, okay, there we go. But yeah, like I don't even know. It's just been like great. It's just so fun. I was gonna ask a question. I forgot what was on my mind.
Is there more to this?
I mean, yeah, but I've kind of like left that alone.
Yeah. See, kind of relating back to like you were saying about your mom, how like she had different opinions on like really loud music and kind of was that more specifically like kind of new music, like the music that the kids were listening to?
No, it wasn't even that. It was just from like she was like the youngest, and she had older brothers, and they were both like, my uncle is like big music guy. Like he plays a bunch of instruments, he sings, like he's in a band for, I think he's still in a band actually. But
is it rock?
It's, I don't really know. It's kind of like a mix of a bunch of stuff, but like he would play music and then her other brother would play music, and she just, because they were so into it and they were so like loud with it, she kind of was like, no. And so she like obviously like has music that means a lot to her from when she was growing up, but I don't think it really, she didn't like have a strong enough connection with it to like want to share it with me like a lot of parents do. So she was fine like listening to whatever as long as it wasn't too loud, I guess. But then once I kind of like got into the music that she grew up with and like started showing interest for it, she became much more like willing and wanting to share with me like what the songs that she liked that were from that time. And then like we were able to talk about it, and then we'll be in the car sometimes and a song will come on on like her playlist and she'll just turn the volume all the way up, and I'm like, wow, this is totally new. And it was like seeing a whole different little side to her because of that, which I think is just so like that was it was crazy. I'm just like, Mom, what? But yeah.
I feel like that could be something, like I know when we were visiting different schools, one of the like a topic we would kind of focus on is like being able to talk to your parents about like emotional stuff and mental health related like issues. I feel like connecting through music could be a very helpful thing for that. Like it can be very difficult, especially if like, and I don't want to say like kids, you just got to go back and listen to like 80s music and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But like I feel like that's something that can contribute toward a sort of like to the barrier between kids and parents, because like the music of this generation is like, I think it's great, you know, but it's definitely so different. And it's just, I feel like it can be very confusing for like an older person to listen to.
Yeah.
Even myself, like obviously I'm 18, I'm not some like elderly person, but I'll hear like some like, you know what like 100 Gexes or something?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, these kids these days, you know?
Sometimes that hits though.
Yeah, no, it does though.
Sometimes
and, like,
that's what you gotta hear.
do you know like Blade and Drain Gang?
Yeah.
I had to mention Drain Gang in this. Like
there's so many more choices today too.
Yeah, totally.
Because you don't have to like buy something on a like a vinyl.
Yeah.
Like you can just listen to it on Spotify.
And there's music being made by, you know, like 15-year-olds in their bedroom or something.
Mm-hmm. And they're putting it out on like streaming services, and you can find an artist with 2 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
That was never possible.
Exactly.
Like
That's crazy.
way back. But yeah, kind of what you said of that like relationship, like it. I think parents do a lot, or maybe not everyone, but I think parents try at least in general to connect to their kids' generation, and I think there's certain lengths that they won't go to do that just because it's too difficult, which makes sense. But I think it's really special when the kid is the one that tries to go back and connect to the parents' generation and kind of like understand the culture of what was going on then and relate that to them. I think it helps with that relationship building.
Definitely.
Makes them more receptive.
It's because like, I don't know, music is such a personal thing to everybody that like, if you can, you know, get that one step of connecting on that thing, then I don't know, I think that can open up a lot of doors to talking about all sorts of emotional stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. No, totally. I think, yeah, that's just like that's what I think about it. I also like the mood change between when we've gone through my mom's whole playlist in the car when we're like on a road trip to when I'm like tired of listening to it, and when I put on my playlist after. Just not that like the genres aren't that different. It's just not songs that she necessarily heard before, but she is like immediately turns it down and then just doesn't want to interact as much anymore. I think it's funny. Anything like, yeah, I totally get it, but it's just it does really. There's such a I remember what I was gonna say earlier, but like I saw something once where music before, I mean like your brain isn't fully developed until you're 25.
I think I've seen
this
too.
And then like music that you listen to like in your teenage years or like up until that point, like is always gonna hit like a little differently than music you like find after that, or music that's new after that, just because it's like really like you feel it differently. Your brain's not like fully there. It could actually like, I think it's just a greater experience, like full round when you're listening to it like at our age than when you are like older hearing something new. I guess you give your attention more to it at our age.
Yeah.
But I think like connecting in that way, things that they listened when they were our age, like is so important. With any, I love like talking to older people about it. I love wearing a shirt and someone being like, "Oh, I was there at that concert." I'm like, "Tell me about that, please."
Yeah, that was the coolest thing. I remember when I saw that fact, I was just like, "Damn! Before I get to the age of 25, I need to find as much music as possible."
That's exactly a thought that I've had.
But it's very interesting what you're saying about like how like older people can just be much more comfortable and like want to interact when, or really not just older people.
Yeah.
But, like when there's music that they know.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, I think that I've definitely felt that in myself. Like, if I'm in, I don't know, a room with other people and there's music playing, if it's a song that I know and like, or even that I've heard hundreds of times and that I really love, just feels like that's created like a safe space for me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And especially if it's like in my headphones, like I just feel very, I guess, just comfortable because this is like, this is familiar to me.
Yeah.
And even if I'm in some place that I've never seen before, I'm hearing this song that I've always heard before. And I guess if it's some song that's completely new to you, or an artist that is completely new to you, it can feel like you're in some sort of very strange and unfamiliar landscape, I guess.
Yeah. That exact thing happened to me. Like one of the first days I was interning in person at Croton, we were in like the little coffee shop, and like Erykah Badu came on. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, wait, I know this song. This song is fire. And I immediately kind of perked up and was like, I was like trying to listen to conversations, but then I was like, no, this is just so good. Like, turn it up.
Was it like, didn't you know?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Yeah. And it was just, and it's like also, it's fun because it's fun to just listen to so many artists and like know so many genres. Cause like, you just have so many more ways to like connect with different people. Yeah. And then like, that's what I don't even try to do it. I think I just kind of love listening to all different types of music. I also like get bored. I literally have ADHD. I get bored so quick. Like I can't, like I'll listen to one artist for like months and then be like, I can't listen to that ever again. And then I need to like switch completely. Yeah. And like that's made me love music more. And I love just being able to like have like a niche interest in one artist while also like knowing like a bunch of like what certain groups of people, certain groups of my friends are listening to, like, and just be able to switch like kind of easily between that, talk definitely about them and like have an actual like relationship to that music.
I think it's kind of like a superpower to be able to just know such a wide range of different artists, like especially going off to college when I'm gonna like know very few people around me and stuff. I definitely want to, I feel like if I could have one way to really connect with people, like that would be the best. Yeah. If I could just, like someone sees me with like a Deftones shirt. Yeah. And like just instant friends or something. Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's been on my shopping list recently. Like buying posters and like buying. Yeah. Because my room is filled with posters and I don't want to like take them down. I've been trying to like stock up, not put anything up on my walls extra so that I could bring all my like little band posters to college. But yeah, it's just such a easy way to connect. And it's like you see that and you're like, oh wow, okay, let's start talking about this. Yeah. It's like brings the pressure off completely. And it's something that's so like outward too. Yeah. Yeah. Like with sports and things, like you don't necessarily know that someone plays something unless you like talk to them about it. Or like I guess with other interests too that aren't as like just like out. It's just hard to know sometimes what like do you do this? Do you do that? Music is just easy. You see it and you're like, oh yeah, you hear it. This is some of my like I've met people a bunch of times like that. Like on vacation, I was sitting next to these people. I was so afraid to talk to them. And there was this girl, she had AirPods in, and I was like, oh, what are you listening to? And she was like, Mitski. And I was like, girl, you okay? Like, what's going on? We're on vacation. And then that sparked a whole conversation, and we were like friends for the rest of the time. I had people to hang out with. And like, it really is that easy sometimes. Yeah.
But even still, like, there are sometimes, I think this happened a couple weeks ago or something. There's some person who I've known for like years, and like I would consider us pretty close friends. And then I was like, I just found out they listened to like Swedish rap, listened to like Young League, and I was like that was a new thing that could connect us and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I love finding out that certain people like are interested in certain types of music, like that I would never expect. Yeah, I get so excited, like even like I didn't know you were into art, and then you told me, I was like, that's sick, like. Because I know you play football, I know you do this, and I think, like, what you're saying before, like, you have all these different interests, and, like, that's what makes you happy, and I think it's so, like, sometimes easy for people to kind of group people into one thing, but then I get so excited when I find out that, I'm like, when I get proved wrong, essentially, when my little, like, preconceptions are wrong, I'm like, yes, like, yay, this is so fun, but yeah.
That's something I feel like I want to do more is just sort of, like, wear that passion on my sleeve and make it... I don't know how I really could, but, like...
You can make an Instagram account. That's what I did.
Yeah, that's true. Like, make it clear that, you know, I'm not just, like, a football player. Because I feel like that is... Especially, I've asked people, like, in my school, like, who I don't really know that well. Like, when you see me walking down the hallways, like, what do you think of me? Like, oh, that kid plays football, you know? I'm just like, damn, like,
it's a bold question to ask. You got a lot of courage for that. That's fun.
But it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing to be putting a lot of effort and like energy into thinking about what other people think about you.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, but
It's fun to know sometimes.
yeah, it definitely is fun to know. And I don't know. Sometimes it definitely is a little bit disappointing, like hearing that so many people were like, "Yo, I didn't know you did art." I was like, "Damn, like,
Yeah.
kind of wish you did."
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I think like I have like chronic oversharing problems where like I just will tell anyone anything about myself, really, like unprompted.
I think that's good, honestly. People will just know you better.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes from also going to a small school where I do already, like, I'm already on a familiar level with, like, mostly everyone.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I could just talk about whatever. Like, we don't have to, like, have a little, oh, like, what's up? What are you doing? I know what you're doing. Like, I saw you yesterday. But it's like, it's just, I just love to share. And I think, like, it generates more conversations with them. And I think I've kind of escaped that where like people don't really know what else I do. Like this podcast, I mentioned this in another episode, but the only reason that I got myself to do it is because I told every single person I knew that I was going to do it months before I started, because it's not just like an oversharing thing, even though I have the need to do that. Like I literally can't stop. And I do sometimes regret it after, but then I'm like, you know what? I'd said it, so what else am I? There's nothing I could do. Why am I thinking about it? But yeah, and then also to hold myself accountable, because then I'm like, oh, well, like, these people know I just told them I'm going to do something.
I got to do it.
And now I have to do it. Like, I got to follow through. And I think, yeah, I mean, like, I do also, like, I do enjoy a little bit of attention, a little bit of positive attention. That's something that I need to, like, maybe work on a little bit. But yeah,
know, like,
that makes me a bit of an oversharer, I think, too.
I feel like being an oversharer, at least in, like, the things that you're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of very important for any community, like a school or a team or just a group of people. Like when you have someone who's telling everybody like what they're into and stuff, there's bound to be a couple people who will be like, oh wait, I'm into that too.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they didn't know like anybody else is really interested in that same thing.
Yeah.
So it can make them feel, I mean, first off, they can make a friend and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they can feel a lot less alone. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also with art too, I kind of forgot about this, but I did like a writing program thing once, and writing is an art form that I love that I do not dedicate an ounce of the time that I should to. Like, I love doing it. I think like this year was really good for me, which makes me feel kind of crazy. I enjoyed applications because I loved to write about, like, in a creative way about myself and about my experiences. And that was fun for me, which it's not for most people for like good reason, but I kind of like enjoyed sitting down and being like, oh, I'm going to like write this in a fun way and it's going to sound cool and it's going to be a little funny. But I did this writing program and I did like the nonfiction part. So I kind of was writing like a personal essay, not for college. It's just part of the class that I did. And I wrote about like the day that, it was like a funny essay. It was kind of about like the day that my dad passed away and like this funny experience I had. It was kind of like from the perspective of my 8-year-old self, of like having that kind of like childlike anger and childlike emotions, like not having the capacity to express them, but like directing it at somebody else who was. It was like a funny essay, like my like little 8-year-old capacity to like express emotions, but kind of written now. But I was a little nervous about sharing that with everyone because it's kind of a lot, and I kind of sometimes feel like I talk about that a lot with people because I make little jokes here and there because it's funny. Duh, like what else is it there for? Why did it happen if I can't make a joke? And like I don't really ever get like super deep about it with people sometimes just because it's like there's not really a time and place for that always. But this was a little bit more than I usually am able to share. And these were people I had just met like a couple days before. But I kind of, I just kind of was like, oh, I'm going to push myself to do this. And it's like what I felt comfortable writing about. So I wrote it and then we all workshopped it. And having something like that workshopped is a whole experience. But I got so many like positive, like things written on it. I had people like saying like that was really vulnerable of you to share. That was really cool. And like, thank you for talking about that. And then I had someone who I was like in a group with, who I like spent most of my days with and had become my friend in like the week I was there, come up to me and say, well, like my dad passed away recently, and like you sharing that like really made me feel better about that. And she was in my class too, and she was like, that was like really like helpful to me to read, to hear. And like, and then we had the whole conversation about it, and we were able to talk about like what that experience is like. And it's not very often that I meet someone with that has like gone through that at my age, and it was just like really special. And like I almost didn't do it, and then creating that and like really creating it for myself, being able to like get that out in like a funny way and like a way that was very me, and then having someone like be really moved by it and like relate to it, and then also like build our relationship a little bit. It was, I don't know, like no words for that experience. Like it was great.
I mean, that's so incredible. Like, to be able to, I mean, first of all, just to be so open about that is like, it's the most, to me, that's like the most impressive thing anybody could do. And like, I think that type of thing can be super helpful for us. Like,
yeah,
even if you didn't choose to like share that with others, I think just the act of creating that could really like, I don't know, I think it could do great things for us, you know. But the fact that you're able to share it with other people, and like, you definitely help them out so much.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, that wasn't even what I was trying to do, and like, I kind of wasn't even really thinking about that, obviously, when making it, but then like, seeing like people like come up to me after and be like, hey, like this helped, like thank you, like that just was like shocking, first of all, and just felt like it was a different feeling than like what I've ever felt before. And I don't usually share like that kind of stuff on that level, I guess. So it was like rewarding in a way, and like really made me kind of value the power that I have as like an artist, I guess, in that way of like making something, writing something, and like sharing it with people.
That's completely like, I feel like that's the best thing that could ever really come from art.
Yeah.
Also, just the way that I feel like it's super, super admirable when someone can talk about something that's obviously like super personal and like maybe painful, but in a way that was like very light, like the way that you were talking about it from like a child's perspective and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, that could be, I'm sure it was very, very helpful for all the people who heard that and read that, just because like I feel like we usually, when we think about, and this could be related to just the whole like JCK message, when we think about talking about our emotions and mental health, it's usually, I guess we visualize it as like a super deep and like hard conversation, you know?
And like private too, I think also.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Which is important for certain things, but.
But, I mean, the fact that you were able to like make light of the situation and sort of use it for humor and stuff, like, I don't know, that's crazy impressive.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I like say this, but it's like that's how I cope with things, and like also it just makes it so much easier to talk about it and like relate to people about it. Because if I were to write like a whole thing about like the very worst parts of, I mean, the whole like the story was about, like, it wasn't even about the like death. It was about how angry I was at the woman who wouldn't let me go on like the turtle egg nature walk, and like the like me like fantasizing about like what was gonna happen to her because she did this terrible wrong thing by denying me like the access to to the turtle walk. And like I think like, and it just kind of casually mentioned that, which I think is like kind of what I tend to like do with it, but it also is like this is how people cope. Like other people, I guess, could relate to that. And like, yeah, I think that's what art is making something out of your own emotions, whether happy, sad, or anything in between, and then like having other people be just moved, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like you said, yeah.
That sounds like such an amazing piece of writing. Like,
thank you.
Yeah, I think in any form of art, like, my best experiences with art have always been when there's something that I found, like, you know, really difficult, or especially when something that's difficult to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, even after I make it, sometimes I still don't really want to talk about it, but it sort of feels like the act of creating this piece is like, I don't know if this is exactly like gonna make it sound like a healthy thing, but it's like a dialogue with yourself, you know?
Yeah, but it is healthy.
Yeah.
You gotta talk with yourself first before you can even think about talking with other people sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And I've definitely had, I don't know, art pieces that have definitely helped me like work through things.
Mm-hmm.
But I also definitely need to write a lot more.
Yeah, writing is so fun. Even journaling. We were talking about this last week with Sydney. But with coping skills, like art is a coping skill. It's kind of just a build up of last week. But like it's something. It's like you enjoy doing it, and you can. It doesn't need words sometimes, and it doesn't need like. You don't need to say anything. It's just kind of like a mutual understanding, even without talking about it, and without. It's kind of just like, oh, I see that. Like I get it. Yeah. And just that acknowledgement. But yeah, I don't know if we got. Do you have anything? Anything outstanding? Do you have any advice that you would give to young artists right now who might be in your position when you were younger?
I mean, this was something that I definitely tried to make clear. Like, sort of one of the main reasons I wanted to join just the JCK Foundation in any way was like, sort of what I was talking about earlier, the way that I just sort of hid this part of my identity, and I tried to, not show anybody that I was super passionate about art. And this does not at all just apply to art, like literally anything. There are countless things that, a kid could be into, whether it be like theater. I mean, there are certain things that people would be much less likely to hide. Like if you're into sports, you're probably not gonna be like, I don't want anybody to know I'm a football player. But I think if you could just, I don't know if dispel is the word, but if you could dispel like just that whole idea that you're supposed to fit into one box. Mm-hmm. I feel like I watched The Breakfast Club recently. For some reason, I've been thinking about this so much.
It's very boxy.
Yeah, it's just like, and maybe part of the message of this movie is that, not everybody is just one thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it really gets that across super well.
It starts to.
Yeah. Like, you're not in high school to be either a jock or an art kid. Mm-hmm. Everybody is all of those things at once. And, I definitely spent a lot of my life, like, trying to be just one of these little stereotypes.
And it's impossible.
It did nothing but hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I feel like what we're always saying to kids is just, like, just be yourself and do what makes you happy, and people will find you through that.
Yeah.
And admire that about you.
Yeah. Keeping up with what you're doing is an act of, like, vulnerability. Keeping up with the things you love, doing the things you love, is being vulnerable. And I think JCK stresses that a lot. Being vulnerable is how you can come to terms with whatever you're going through. You could form relationships, and you could kind of get stronger, grow. But yeah, do not, that's amazing advice. And that's kind of like exactly what I would have said, is just don't kind of think that you have to, it's hard to keep up with everything that you love as a kid, or everything that you've ever found, like, had an affinity for as a kid. But if you can make any time, like once a week, to keep up with something, also, you'll thank yourself later.
Yeah, definitely. I think just being into something, literally being into anything, I think is like the coolest. Like that's what makes a cool person. Cool person is, is passionate about something, or even, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that you have to be like, have some burning passion that like, is your one purpose or anything. It's
totally normal not to have that. Yeah. Especially as a younger person.
But whatever it is that you're into, there's absolutely hundreds of millions of people who are super into that type of thing too. And, you should never feel alone because you like this one certain thing and you feel like maybe people around you don't. Never feel like you have to hide it either.
Yeah. That's brilliant advice.
Thanks.
But I think that's all we got.
Come to the end?
Yeah. That was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I had a great time talking. I talked about more than I thought. You reminded me of so many things that I've experienced with this stuff that I didn't even know.
Thank you so much for having me on this. I I remember when I was first talking to John, weeks before we even started the internship, he said, like, I think we have someone who's going to be doing a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think instantly I was like, yeah, I would love to go on there.
Yeah, this year my first, like, intern podcast. First peer.
And at first, like, I won't lie, probably the first couple minutes of being on this, like, I was a little bit nervous.
I was nervous, too. I'm always...
It's definitely, like, it's a weird thing putting yourself out there for the entire internet to see.
Yeah.
But I think it's great, and, like, I don't know, what you do definitely with this, and, like, being so vulnerable and open, and also, I bet this is pretty, like, fun to watch, too. I'm sure it's a little entertaining.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I struggle to watch myself.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to hate my voice.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but I hope that my goal with this was to do something that I was passionate about, but also to maybe just help one person. Like, if one person could watch at least 5 minutes of one episode and get something out of it, then my goal is accomplished.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot in this one and a lot of stuff that you said that could apply to a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I hope so.
Again, thank you so much to Stockroom Records. They're awesome. They're great. If you want to record, go here. Mamaroneck, represent. But I think that's it. We should say bye.
All right, bye. Thank you for watching.
Thanks. Okay.